Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic morning, and I'm so excited for all of you that are jumping in to watch this podcast today. I'm really, really excited about the presenter that we have on here today. It's, as many of you know, this virtual world is new for me, being the program manager at the Senior Center. I'm so used to seeing so many of you face to face. So this is all new and exciting for me, but I can't wait to see what the future holds for virtual programming for us. So today we have the privilege of meeting someone named Nicole Phillips. She is an author and a speaker and a champion of using kindness in her life to deal with many difficult situations, which I think is perfect for kind of what we're going through right now with the COVID-19 situation. Nicole has been a kindness champion in her own life by battling her own battle with breast cancer. Nicole works with a kindness team, and they have a weekly podcast and where they do kindness column, and this takes place, I believe, in North Dakota and Minnesota. Nicole also has 2 books. I have read one, The Kindness is Contagious, and she also has another book out called Kindness is Courageous. Nicole is married to Saul Phillips. He, I believe, is a Northern State University men's head basketball coach, and she also has 3 lovely children. So we're going to welcome her on here today, and going to be asking her a few questions. So hi Nicole.
Hi, Alasa. Thank you so much for having me.
I hope I did an okay presentation of you. I'm always nervous to introduce someone. So.
Oh my goodness, totally. The only thing I would have added is that I love Wisconsin people because Saul and I, my husband and I, are both from Wisconsin, and our oldest daughter, who is 16, was born in Madison. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I love giving a little background about people and where they're from, and I love to hear about the roots of Wisconsin. So yeah.
Well, and Saul and I both grew up in Reedsburg, Wisconsin, which is near Wisconsin Dells. So
okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we can dive right in. I first of all just want to say thank you. This is such a privilege and honor for this to be happening at the little town of Verona Senior Center, and we're so excited to pick your brain a little bit today on kindness.
Well, I've been to Verona. I've not been to the Senior Center, but hi, seniors. I would love to come visit you when this is all over.
That would be amazing. We would love that someday. So, well, again, thank you so much for joining us. And before we dive in, I thought it would be really nice to learn a little bit more about you, and maybe you can give us some background about yourself and how this got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of see the start of my kindness journey beginning in 2011. So 9 years ago, I was on the edge of what anyone would call an alcoholic. I was a drinker and a smoker and an overeater, and I was just really frustrated with life and angry at my husband a lot of the time, which honestly, Alasa, is so silly because I had everything I could ever want. I had 3 healthy, beautiful babies. We lived in a nice house. I mean, I didn't need or want for anything, and yet nothing felt quite right. And for your seniors out there, I would imagine that many of you can probably look back on a time in your life where you felt just really unsettled like that, and you just felt like you needed a good dose of gratitude. And luckily, I think the older we get, the wiser we get as well. And so sometimes we realize that the place that gratitude has in our life and in our joy. So hopefully none of your seniors are sitting in that spot of where, a frustrated young mom that like I was, but yeah, so that's where it all started for me. And I was living in Fargo, North Dakota at the time. And I had this interaction, this act of kindness, random kindness happen. And I got such a great exhilaration from being part of an act of kindness that I thought, I want to follow this. I want to see if I can make that happen again. And so I ended up being really intentional and systematic about kindness every week. And then I started writing a newspaper column in Fargo that still runs 9 years later. It still runs in North Dakota and Minnesota. And basically what I found within 1 year of really changing my perspective and getting my eyes off of myself and putting them onto others was that within that 1 year, I had totally quit drinking. I had quit smoking. I lost 30 pounds. I fell in love with my husband. And I did, it's amazing what a nice guy he is that I didn't even know.
It's interesting to me how you say you stopped focusing on yourself and started focusing on others, because we live in a culture that is very me focused, self focused, right? Like, it's interesting how you did the twist and turned it more on helping other people. So I'm always kind of curious to know, how does, that twist work with self-care, but then in turn it maybe becomes self-care. So does that make sense what I'm saying?
I think so. And sometimes I'll get the question, like, if kindness is so much about how you feel, then it's not altruistic. It's not for other people. And that's just really one of the beautiful things about the science behind kindness, is that when we do an act of kindness, when we step out of our comfort zone a little bit, what we find is that these 4 feel-good chemicals are released into our bodies. And so it's amazing how we were created that giving to others means receiving, and you're not separating the two. So I feel like it's just a great gift that when we're the giver, we're the receiver.
The receiver. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. So what would you say kindness really means to you?
So to me personally, as a kindness advocate, I don't feel like kindness equals giving away money. I don't feel like kindness equals giving away time. Kindness doesn't equal any particular act, but kindness is a state of mind. And so kindness is a place where we live in our thoughts and in our minds. And so eventually we get to the place that instead of automatically thinking about the negative things, we open our mind up and we start thinking more inquisitively, for example, or we start giving people the benefit of the doubt. I had my dear friend, Tom Toulouse. I lost him in December, but he would call me every week, and he just was such a gift to me. He just was such a gift to me, like another father. And he would call me every week and we would talk through things. And I remember, and this has been going on for, let's say, 9 years. Actually, I met him as soon as I started writing the column. So 9 years we had been just in this sweet, sweet relationship. And at the beginning of that 9 years, I remember he would say to me, "Oh, we had the grandkids over for Thanksgiving dinner and they ate chicken nuggets. Like, their parents let them eat chicken nuggets. Like, they spent all day in the kitchen." Yeah. So they spent all day in the kitchen and whatever. And then those selfish kids, ungrateful, didn't even eat what was prepared for them. That would never have flown in my day. So he said this to me. And he and I kind of went on this journey of changing our thought patterns and moving into this kind space in our mind together. And so I remember that same conversation we had just, last year again. And I said, how did the Thanksgiving go? And he goes, "Those kids, they still eating chicken nuggets." He said, "But you know what? I understand, like, for their mom and dad, it's just so much easier on that particular day when there's family around. They don't want to pick that battle. They just want to relax and enjoy the family and enjoy the day." And to me, that's the state of kindness, right, Alasa? Like, that's where your brain lives in kindness.
Yes. And then you don't have a critical spirit. You just kind of go in just wanting to embrace the family more and spend time with them and not focusing on, does the chicken nugget really matter? No, it's the relationships that he's developing with those kiddos during that time.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
Away from that, knowing that it was, he's getting to see them grow instead of like worrying, because he was worried. That's where it came from, a place of love where he was worried that they were never going to grow taller or get stronger because they're only eating chicken tenders or chicken nuggets, and so eventually
they've grown up just fine.
Yeah, they grow up just fine. Yes, they do. 9
Aw.
years later, yeah.
And Tom is no longer with, he's passed away. Aw.
Yeah, he passed away in December. So, yeah, I'm missing my weekly phone calls with him, but his wife and I now talk. So, I mean, we had always been very, I love her so much too, but
Yeah.
yeah, so she's kind of taken over that.
I love that story. Thank you for sharing. So I guess switching gears a little bit, I wrote this question down. I was brainstorming just a little bit on how to personalize this with the audience that I work with. So how can older adults maintain a positive perspective during these times of boredom and isolation in the current situation we're in?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's kind of a loaded question, but yeah.
It's a big one, but I think it comes back to really remembering you don't have to think every thought that pops into your head. And so for everyone watching, I would say, if you want homework from this session, here it is. Think about what you're thinking about. Think about what you're thinking about. Stop yourself at any given time of the day and say, what am I thinking about right now? And if you realize in that moment that you're worrying about something, that you're being, the judge and jury of people around you, then acknowledge that those are not thoughts that serve you. That's not the place you want to park your brain. And so then find a place that's better suited to park your brain, where you know that you'll be helping yourself, because you're not going to help yourself with those worrying thoughts and the jurying thoughts. So think about what you're thinking about. And when you come to that thought and you know it's something that isn't serving you, I personally like to reject and replace. And so the rejecting is in that moment saying to myself, I refuse to think that thought. I reject that thought. I'm not going down that road in my mind. And then the next step of it is to replace it with something that's more positive for you. And so that could be, it could be a mantra. It could be a list of your favorite words. It could be reciting every one of your grandkids' names, first, middle, and last in order of their age, whatever it is that makes your brain fight a little bit to remember that. And then in that case, you have automatically moved yourself away from the negative thought into a more positive territory.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I even thought like calling a friend, having that list of people that that you can go to that are going to inspire you. And sometimes I find when I'm in a funky spot and I call somebody, they might have been in the same spot, and then the two of us can positively build each other up that way. Yeah. A lot of directing.
I know loneliness is such a big issue with seniors. It's just so, you're seeing people you love leave you, and it's just heartbreaking. So people sometimes feel like, well, I don't have that best friend anymore to call. I don't have that person. And so I really caution people to monitor what they're allowing into their brain in the first place. So you want to think about what you're thinking about at any given moment, but also I really feel like it's important to surround yourself with positivity in the form of whatever noise is coming to your brain. So for instance, you're going to hate this if you're a news watcher, but I was in the news business as a TV anchor for a long time, and it's not a whole lot of goodness coming through there. So, sit down, watch your 30 minutes of news, and then move on. Shut it off. It doesn't need to be running in the background all day long. That's not a healthy place for you. And then
here on the news isn't true.
Me?
Everything we hear on the news isn't true.
Oh, I thought you said you were on the news. Is that true? I was on the news in Madison, by the way. So do you know Charlie Shortino?
Yes. Yeah,
I was on the news with Charlie Shortino.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was in the year 2000.
Very good.
2000? Yeah, 2004. I don't know. I lose track of time.
Sorry, I distracted you there for a second.
Yeah, no. It's all good. It's all good. I just, so not everything you hear on the news is true. And a lot of it is just spun from a negative perspective because everybody likes to watch a train wreck. And so I encourage you to turn off the television or the radio after you've gotten your information. And then, if you're watching this right now, you are technologically savvy enough to find positive things online, whether that's cute puppies, funny videos of babies or whatever you think is fun to watch and to listen to. Get that good news going through your social media feeds.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah. Quotes, poetry. There's so much out there at our access nowadays. Yeah, I really feel, and I do feel like seniors are more savvy with technology. They're learning, and I always say, don't say that you're too old to learn. I always say we can help you learn, so you're never too old or young to learn something new, I always say. So
do you want to hear something really cool that I learned, Alasa? And part of this research comes from the University of Wisconsin, but basically there are pathways within our brains, right? And so the emotion, the expression that we use the most are the pathways that become the most prominent. So if we experience and show anger often, then we're going to have those pathways really kind of ignite quickly when we need to show anger. Our brain is helping us get to the emotion we want to get to faster and faster. But our brains are very plastic. So they are constantly learning, and how you react today to something, what you think about today determines how you react and how you think about something tomorrow. And so when I learned this, I asked someone, okay, but is there like an age limit? Like can't teach old dogs new tricks, so it's only for elementary school kids or what? And they said, no, this idea of mindfulness is something that translates throughout life. So until the day you die, you are teaching yourself and forming your brain on how to react tomorrow based on how you reacted today.
Love it. I love that. That's super cool.
I love it. Me too. Yeah. So now your people have two pieces of homework. I started with one, which is think about what you're thinking about. And the second is fill up your social media, anything you're looking at online with positive things. So those are 2 acts of homework.
Wonderful. I like the whole fill your bucket. I've heard you talk about the fill your bucket a little bit too, right? With the kindness, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that was from
Cloud last week's kindness podcast that Verona Senior Center sponsored.
With the kindness thing. So I think a lot of seniors right now, and I should say, I try to not call them seniors because they don't like that word, older adults, but a lot of them probably are dealing with like, just even because since they're probably the population being told to really be cautious right now and stay home. So I guess where was I going with this? So isolation, anxiety, fear, those things might rise up more. So I feel like when there is some tangible points that they can follow, that helps so much to combat those fears away that maybe wouldn't normally creep up as often. If that makes sense. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your books. So we're at home, more time to read. I know I've read through 2 books already that I'm a crazy busy mom. I'm working from home. I'm homeschooling 2 children. I'm trying to keep my sanity. So reading for me is a great avenue out right now, right? My days are finishing up a little bit early. I have time to read in the afternoon. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your books, because I think our older adults would benefit really well from them.
So I have them sitting in my closet right there. Do you want me to grab them? So
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Careful. Here's what we're going to do. Alasa, just you go for it. Yeah, there we go.
Who knows the Macarena? You guys are all going to make fun of me for this post. I can go. Nicole's books are excellent because they're short chapters. They're not a long read. So, if your eyes tire easily, or if you have, just a short attention span or whatever, the chapters are really a short read. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. So I have 2 books, and the first is called Kindness is Contagious. And the subtitle is 100 Stories to Remind You God is Good and So Are Most People. And I titled it that, not because there's a Christian element to it, but because I thought it was funny, like most people are good. Like God says, most people are good. Yeah. Not all of them.
Right.
So it's 100 stories. It takes about 3 minutes to read each one. And then the second book is in the same format. It's called Kindness is Courageous, 100 Stories to Remind You that People Are Brave and Kind. And again, it's 100 short stories, takes about 3 minutes to read. And I know I get a lot of times from older adults will say, did you make a large print version? Did you make an audio version? And I did not. I'm very sorry, but this is about how big the words are in it. So I try to leave some space in there for our eyes to read fluently. And it is also available on book 1 is available in a Kindle version on Amazon. So if somebody wants to download it to a reading device and then make the font much bigger, you can always do that.
Perfect. A lot of them do that. They'll download it on Kindle for that very reason, so they can make it. Yeah. Make it bigger. Oh, we have a question. Oh, can you ask Sarah, our background lady? She's asking a question about, can you ask Alasa about a kindness story with her son Hunter to help?
Do you have time?
Yeah. So this is a great segue. The next question I had for you, because I was going to ask you to share one of your favorite kindness stories, but I can certainly lead into that. So my son Hunter, he is now 12. Actually, a lot of the participants at the senior center know him well because he loves to come in and help me work and things like that. And he just has a huge servant's heart. He's that type of kid that he can be friends with anyone. It doesn't matter, young, old, in between. He just is very good at accepting all different types of people. So he has a heart for, people that struggle. So for a while it was homeless people. So one year he wanted to make little like goodie bags that when we saw a homeless person. So what started this whole story is one day we saw a homeless person along the side of the street, and I didn't have anything to give him, and I didn't want to just give him money. And so he came up with this idea all on his own to take bags and put like socks and like a $5 bill, protein bars. We stuck in some little, we had some little Bibles at home. We put a Bible in, we stuck in like some poetry books. We just made these little kindness bags and ended up handing them out. And Hunter was kind of the one that really started me on. So we keep them in our car. We have a couple in our car. And if we see somebody that needs one, we'll hand it out the window. So that's kind of
still do this.
We still do it. I have actually, and more in the winter time because we don't see quite as many in the summer. But yeah, we keep a couple just on hand in the car for those moments. So yeah.
And it's interesting because you say you didn't want to give people money.
Right.
But yet your son wanted to put $5 in there. And, a lot of people think, well, if I just hand over money, then they're going to use it on something I don't think they should use it on. So I always tell people, you have to follow your heart on how you feel in each situation for you might be different, but I do know, there was a man outside of a gas station, and I would go into that gas station frequently because there was a little cafe in it, like not a cafe, but just coffee shop in it. And so I would go in there sometimes and I would write some of these stories that are in the book. And I saw this man, and it was freezing cold. We were in Fargo, North Dakota, freezing cold. And I just, I went out, and I just in that moment felt like I wanted to give him enough money to buy a cup of coffee. So that $5 meant that he basically had a ticket to go into the coffee shop and get warm and have a cup of coffee, and so sometimes it's we cannot control in our giving what somebody has, but every once in a while it'll really hit you like, okay, I want to give this. or I
And
don't want to get that.
yeah, and I feel like sometimes it's not even about what we think they're going to do with it. We're just called to do the act and
Yeah.
trust,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
sometimes we're not, oh, you know, does that person still think about me? Or, you know, oh, what do they do with the money? Or, you know, I don't think it's always our job to figure that end out. It's just our job to do what we're supposed to and then just trust. I don't know. At least that's kind of how I look at it.
Totally. Totally.
And then it's so funny because it's just as much for them as it is for you. Do you know what I mean? I love this, Nicole.
I know. It goes right back to what I talked about before, those feel-good chemicals. And so you give and you receive.
It is, to me, when I do a kindness act, it's the same as if I've had like a really good workout. Well, it's better because I don't really like to work out. I'm not going to lie. I do it for my health, but like the same excited energy that you get, it's that, the kindness. Like, and I always tell people, you know, don't be afraid to try it. You're sort of going to get addicted to wanting to do kindness. I mean, what better like addiction to have, right? But to want to do kind acts for others. I don't know.
Right. Well, and for your science junkies out there, I'll say that endorphins are released during an act of kindness, and endorphins are what are released when you are exercising as well. And so that's your body's natural pain reliever. Yeah. But serotonin is also released, and serotonin is your body's natural anti-anxiety chemical. And serotonin, by the way, is released when you just think about an act of kindness, when you think about what you're grateful for and you start feeling kind of warm. With
that's
gratitude.
exactly what was happening just now when I was describing Hunter, his situation. Yeah.
That's serotonin flowing through your body right there. Exactly. Yeah. And then what you, I think, kind of touched on there is dopamine. And dopamine is the feeling I get when I eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Like, yeah, like, oh, life is good. And so when you do an act of kindness, dopamine lights up the brain's pleasure center as if you were the receiver of the act of kindness. So it literally lights up your brain's pleasure center like it does when I have ice cream. Yeah. And then the fourth is oxytocin. And the interesting thing for older adults with oxytocin is that oxytocin dilates the blood vessels so that you have lower blood pressure. Isn't that interesting? And so they say it's cardioprotective. That's the fancy word people use for oxytocin when you're talking about kindness.
Yeah, so one of the women on your kindness team, I think Sarah has that. Sarah has that, like, whatever you just described. I mean, because like I've seen it in her life do so many of these kindness things, and her energy and her like excitement. I'm like, she's gonna live forever.
Yeah, we call her the Energizer Bunny. She just has more to give than everyone in the whole wide world. And hey, can I touch on that, Alasa, for your for your older adults? I'm sorry. How do I say this? You know, I say Sarah on my kindness team has more to give than everybody else. And I heard it explained once by a speaker. Unfortunately, I can't remember when or who it was, but that we all have a little plate. And for some people, it's maybe a little china teacup plate. And for some people, it's a platter. It's huge. And, you know, salad plates, dinner plates, everything in between. But we all have our own individual size. And so we put, you know, we can fit so many things onto our plate. But it's okay not to look at anyone else's plate. Yeah. It's okay not to compare what you can do physically, emotionally, financially. You don't need to compare that with anyone else. Because just because, you know, this person's the world's best grandmother because she can, you know, go do 5Ks with her grandkids or whatever it is, that has nothing to do with you. Your plate was given to you in this size for your benefit. And so I hope that makes sense. I just want to encourage people that whatever it is that whatever you fit on your plate is enough. And it matters. Whatever little thing you can do matters.
And I think that's so good for older adults to hear too, because some people might be limited with mobility,
Yes.
or they don't drive anymore and they have to count on, a caregiver to come and pick them up. And so they're like, well, I can't, go deliver meals to people's homes. No, maybe you can't do that, but you can get on the phone and call and give an encouraging word to somebody. You can write a note. Like that is I'm really glad that you brought that up, and we shouldn't compare to each other's plates, because I think that's another thing our culture really wants us to do, right? Is always do this comparison game. And then that inhibits us from just doing what we can, right? And yeah, no act is too big or too small.
Right. And I talk about, Tom Toulouse, my dear friend, and I saw his mobility decline over 9 years. I saw his health decline, and there was less that he could do, but he could always pick up the phone and call me once a week. He could always, ask me how things were going.
And that's what you bring up. Like, that's what you brought up about him, right? Was the phone call. It wasn't like, yeah.
It wasn't like, ooh, that guy takes me out to lunch. Like, no, we didn't do that. Like I get free meals from him, or, he always accompanies me when I do this. Like, no, it's not, there was nothing like that. It was just simply knowing that somebody cared enough to call me once a week and check in.
Absolutely. Nicole, I know we have to wrap things up here pretty soon, but I didn't know if there was any last encouraging words that you had for us. You really covered all the questions that I had written down. I didn't know if you maybe had, one more story to share, or just anything that you have for us. Whatever.
Well, my dad was in an assisted living center for a while. And I remember when he was there, my dad has always loved nature, fishing, and, he's a Wisconsin guy. So of course, he just loved birds and nature and everything else. So, my brother went in when my dad had a window at his assisted living room. My brother went and he planted bird feeders there for him. And that was precious. And then, I had that so in the forefront of my mind. And then I got a story from someone who said that they had a relative in an assisted living center, and there was a little tree out that window. And every holiday, once a month, they would pick whatever, whether it's St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day or the 4th of July, and they would wrap that tree in lights, or they'd put little decorations on it and things like that. And so I feel like that's so sweet. And maybe there are people out there that maybe you have friends who are transitioning from, living on their own to living in a facility of some sort. And so I feel like that's even something perhaps that if you're feeling badly for people, or, wanting to do something to bring cheer to somebody, I feel like even now in that time of quarantine, that's something that we can either do, or maybe we can lean on, a nephew or a child, an adult child, and say, hey, can you go put a bird feeder in front of their window for me? So just
yeah, I love it. I think it's great.
This has been great, Alasa.
I know, I've enjoyed it so much. I hope that everybody watches this gets a little bit of inspiration about kindness. Spread kindness like confetti, right? Mm-hmm. And again, going back to your plate perspective, everybody's plate is a different size, and just do what you can. And I feel like there's going to be so many feel good benefits to it and health benefits to it, and it's going to help during this time of uncertainty with things going on. And I think kindness is really one of the best ways to combat just what's going on in our world right now. So
it sure is. It's been so fun talking about it. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world to talk about. So thanks, Alasa, for giving me that chance.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for giving us a little chunk of your time too, Nicole. So again, the books, can they order them on Amazon if they would like?
Yes.
Okay. And maybe I'll try to figure out how to get a few copies from a secret source.
Yeah. If you have a secret source, that could help as well.
Sounds good. Well, I think, that is all I had for today. So yeah.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.